All right, we are on hole number 5 of the big game 9-hole cup. So we're at the Milano here. Let's check out hole number 5. All right, what do we got? So on this particular hole, I remember playing Mike D, used to be the president of our clan. And this is the first hole I ever one-on-one played him with. And I came out and there's a max overpower hook shot that you can do from this side right here. And depending on which way the wind's blowing, it takes very little. If the wind's going, if you've got headwind, you need to put on just a couple topspin. And if the wind's tailwind, you can put on just a little bit of backspin. There is a pole out here that you can aim at. You can do this with a Titan, and there is a max overpower hook shot that you can do over here. But this is a kind of a risky shot over here, but it is kind of a fun shot to do. I see a lot of people hit over into this area, and I'm not exactly sure why. You have now if you're playing from the back tees and you can't reach this island, or excuse me, is it that island? It may be this island. It is this island. You may end up having to hit out here so that you take this second shot from over here, area 1. So you got area 1 here, and then from the green is way the hell downhill. So even though it's a fairly short shot, you got a ton of work to get done if you're over here trying to get on it. Now, depending on which way the wind's blowing, the option that we're always going to take in a tournament is to try and get up into this area in 1 by using this island. So it's ideal to not try and hit this shot with overpower. So bringing out a bigger ball so that you can set the shot up. If you've got a headwind, I think even with a bigger ball, you may have to put a little bit of overpower on it just to get you in the right spot. Try and use, when you're taking these types of shots, instead of going for the center where this becomes into play, pick a spot, especially on this side right here, so that pulls you away from the sand, where you've got the deepest area that you can get. So if you do have to put a little bit of overpower on there, you're giving yourself the deepest spot that you can, so that if you do slightly put too much overpower on it, you won't clip the rough right here and just end up in the rough. And trying to get bounce number 1. Bounce number 2 can be a little bit tricky, because in order to get the distance to go from bounce number 1 to bounce number 2, and then to roll out and not end up out in this area, can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're having to do overpower, because if you go just a little bit too far forward, it can really put your trajectory off. A lot of times you're going to see people hitting in this area and then clipping the rough and then just bleeding out. You still got a lot of work to get done. Now, it looks like the pin placement was before over in this area, so you kind of had a shot at a hole-in-one. But where the pin placement is now on the other side, you're going to have some work to get done. And this green, you can see where there's a little trough right here. So this is all rolling downhill. And it can be a little bit difficult if you're out in here trying to get to the cup, because when you're going to the cup, everything's wanting to go to the right and roll off the cup. So it looks like it might be down here. It's a little flatter down towards the bottom. So we'll just have to, when I get out there on the course, we'll have to look at it. But the goal here is to get out into this area so that we have that short chip. Now you can get up on the green and then roll back down, and then it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get all the way over to where the new cup position's at. It was possible to kind of get up on the hill and roll back down to the bottom. And yes, I've been in this rough back here, I don't know how many times. It's easy to get caught up in the rough here if you get the bounce wrong. You can try and keep yourself away from the sand. So, but if you fail to the right, you can end up in the sand. But what I'm gonna try and do is try and bring this ball around. We'll see which way the wind's blowing. It'll determine what kind of ball we get. Is to bring the ball in this direction and then try and cut this angle, so that I really would like to be just like off the green, and then have a chip to get up into the cup. And for eagle position, and the goal here is eagle. Okay, so getting up into this area, I can tell you that it's not that you can't make this shot up here, but this is a difficult shot, especially with variable wind and being as much uphill as it is. This shot over here, doing the max overpower hook, is just kind of a fun shot to do. So we'll get out there and check it out. Check it out. Let's think. I'm going to start off with a 3 power ball, and we'll see. What you really want to do, like I may do some overpower here today just so I don't have to burn a power 5 ball, but the goal is to try and do this where you're not having to do overpower. And you may, one day we may have tailwind and you may be able to get it done with a power 3 ball, and the next day we've got a little bit of headwind and you may be able to eke it out with a power 4 ball. You may have to switch to a power 5, but we're going to have to roll. The ball's going to change depending on which way the wind's going. And I'm going to bring out an APOC, whatever your longest hitting. And the APOC, even though I don't have as much topspin in this APOC as I do on my extra mile, it has a little bit more raw distance. And you want to use whatever you have that's got the most raw distance to get you into that spot. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. This is a great opportunity to pick up an eagle right here. I mean, I'm not going to say that this is a must get, but it's a must get. We got to get this hole. We got to get it. And it's been a while since I played this hole, so whenever the last tournament that it was in, we'll see. I used to play a lot of tour play, just mess around. I don't play as much tour play anymore. So we got a little bit of headwind here. We'll see what they've got. Let's see if they switch to a bigger hitting club. Now their rock will be able to get up there. And it looked like they need a little bit of backspin. That might be. Let's see where that second bounce is. With the way that with the little bit of headwind, I might put on like 1 3/4 or 1.5 backspin. And they're gonna, that's gonna be bad. If they make this first bounce, which they didn't, they would have ended up in the sand. Here we go. So we need to bring out a power 4 ball. And with that little teeny bit of headwind on there, I'm going to do 3.5. Try and get up into that. So 4-3, maybe about 3 rings. I'm going to do a little more than that. That's 4-8. Isn't it perfect? We'll see if that was enough to get me over. Ooh, not quite enough. Maybe in that situation, just I did 3.5, maybe 3. Really laid it down. You can see the idea there. With a power 5 ball, I wouldn't have had to do any overpower at all, and I actually could have pulled back from the red line to give me enough room to work the wind out. So depending on what club you're bringing, I'm going to just chip it up to where I was kind of like trying to get to, so we can look at what the second shot would be. We all know what rough shots are like. From that distance with the rough shot, it's basically boils down to if you hit it perfect, it goes in. But I'm going to just chip it over there so that we can see if I'd have just barely cleared it. We'll see. I want to see what that second shot looks like. So if we'd have just gotten, what we're really trying to do is kind of get up into this area, but if we just barely made it, let's see what that looks like. From over here, it doesn't look too bad. It looks fairly flat. It almost looks like sometimes when they go, it's hard to tell sometimes when you're on these holes, because like you look at from that angle right there, it looked like the green was pretty flat and not a lot of moguls and stuff in it. And I just wonder sometimes if they smoothed these out when they did that, because this green used to have a little bit of movement to it. You can see it doesn't look too bad, but it sure looked bad in the past. So on a shot like this, from this distance, wind is definitely going to be a factor. So I'm going to go right on the edge here. I'm going to hedge my bet. This may give me a perfect and a great to the right. And it's rolling off to the right, so a great to the left might still have a shot. Hitting it perfect. Now that should hit the flagpole. Dead center perfect. Now actually it was on the left, or on the right hand side of the flagpole. So in that situation, a great to the left and a perfect would have went in. When you're doing those shots going into the cup, trying to think about, so like on that particular hole, looking at how the green rolls down. So the green's rolling down like this. So we've got our flagpole. From that distance, I think of from the edge of the cup to the flagpole as being 4 miles per hour. But it's also rolling off this direction. So as the ball's rolling up to the cup, it's drifting off to the right just because of the slope on the green. That's why, and by coming over here, I was trying to give myself where if wind wasn't a factor, it would have came in right here and I would have had a great to the right. If wind was a factor, it came in right here and I might have still been able to eke in a great to the left. So trying to give myself 2 opportunities on that. If you hit perfect every time, it's not going to make any difference. But if you don't hit perfect every time, which is me, I got my hand raised, always try and give yourself as much, just give yourself an opportunity. All right. That was hole number 5 of the big game tournament. And that is hole we definitely need to get an eagle on. We definitely want to get that drive worked out. This is one of those holes where, like, okay, whether you want to, everybody always talks about the game and like where you should be or what you should be doing, but we never talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is spending money. And this is one of those holes that if somebody has a ball inventory where they can pull out a ball where they don't have to do overpower, they're going to have, you know, if you statistically look at it, they're going to have a much higher chance of consistently getting eagles because they're changing their ball based off of the conditions so that they don't have to do overpower. And that way they can set it up, take the wind out, take the shot, no fuss, no muss, don't have to worry about trying to catch that max overpower perfect. Just get the ball up there and get their eagle and move on. And having a ball inventory for a hole like this is definitely big. Big. All right. That was hole number 5. Thanks for watching.